Doug and Deb. We see Kim, Candy, and Crystal. I always love Crystal's picture. I like all of them. Hi, everyone. Hi, Dean. Welcome in. We're letting everybody in to our room. Welcome. It is Wednesday, 2 o'clock Eastern time here in the Pittsburgh area, and that means it is another time for Life Amplified. Welcome, everyone. And everybody say hi to Michael, who's our special guest on Zoom today. Hi, Michael. Thank you for joining us. We have been waiting to hear all about 3D printing and with Prosthetics Plus. And so we're super excited to have you. And we're going to get to you in a minute, Michael, but we always, for those of you who are regulars, you know we have our standard introduction. So give me about 10 minutes of your time to get all the background stuff out of the way, and then we're going to get started with our special guest, Michael from Prosthetics Plus, talking all things 3D printing. Welcome, everyone who has been admitted. It's 2 o'clock Eastern time, as I said a moment ago, here in the Pittsburgh area. It is our weekly get-together for Life Amplified, which is a webinar hosted by Amputee Aid. I am Jennifer. I'm the Executive Director for Amputee Aid. This is Emily. Hi, Emily.
Hi.
And Emily, who are you?
I'm social worker with Amputee Aid.
Yes, and we are your co-hosts today for Life Amplified. As many of you know, we are streaming on Zoom. We've also got our friends on TikTok. Hi, TikTok, watching behind the scenes. And we are recording. We will post our recording to YouTube every Friday, and all of you will get a copy of that recording. If you want to catch some of the awesome things that Michael has to say, contact information, maybe you don't remember an answer to a question, or if you've got friends who weren't able to join us who you'd like to share the recording with, and please do. We want to be YouTube famous, so please share our links and follow us on YouTube if you are not already doing so. You will get the recording on Friday. As many of you also know, we will have folks kind of trickling in the room as we go along. They're coming from another group, or they're taking a break from work, or sneaking in a break, or trying to Zoom while their kiddos are taking a nap, or any number of things. We will just watch the waiting room, and we will let folks in as we go along. John already got started with our next thing. Thank you very much, John. Say hi and tell us where you're from in the chat for our friends on Zoom and on YouTube. We like to know where everybody is coming from. And we know I saw Crystal said hi to Emily. She didn't say hi to me. What's up with that?
No, she did.
Oh, she did? Oh, okay. Sorry, Crystal. Fort Worth. We saw Central Pennsylvania. We are here in the Pittsburgh area. As many of you know, Amputee Aid is located in Pittsburgh as a 501c3, but we serve folks all over the country. Many of our clients are not in Pennsylvania at all. I see St. Petersburg, Florida in there. Ooh, Rachel from Pittsburgh. Woohoo! Another Pittsburgh, another Yinzer in the house. Hey, Yinzer. We've got Wisconsin. Yes, Michael's in Wisconsin. I got to get my Wisconsin accent going. I won't ask him to say bag because they say it weird in Wisconsin. They say bag in Wisconsin. We've got some Texas people and some Nebraska people. Van from Funk It Down. Hi, Van. Good to see you again. Louisiana's in the house.
Nebraska.
So we love to see where everybody is from. And hopefully where you are, it's a little bit warmer this week than last week. It is much warmer here in the Pittsburgh area. Still cold, but our office heat is working now. Thank you
Hey,
to all of you.
Start to quilt.
So, and we'll go ahead and as we're getting started, we're going to keep folks on mute. But please know, you can come off of mute at any time. Interrupt us. And if you have questions, we will get to your questions. So, but don't feel like you have to wait until the end. Although we have built in some time near the end of our discussion to ask and answer questions. Y'all know this is unscripted, and you are welcome to come off of mute at any time. Related to that, know that we are recording our webinar, just like we do every Wednesday and share every Friday. So we can see your faces and your profile pictures, and our TikTok friends, we can see the comments going. The recording does not capture your faces or your video, so that will not be on YouTube for the world to see, but it does capture your voices. So if you are the kind of person who doesn't want your voice on the internet, that's okay. Just put your question in the chat, and Nick and Lucho, who are behind the scenes, Nick is with us again. Hi, Nick. We will grab your questions, but if you don't mind, we would love to hear your voices. Otherwise, it's us talking all the time, and we can listen to your question and get your answer live as well. 2 final background things, and then we're going to talk about why we are here today. Actually, I lied. 3. First of the 3. This is a safe space. This is a welcome and free space for everyone. So we would love to hear from you, share your insights, give us your comments and your questions. But just know that if it's a particularly personal thing, this might not be the forum for that. We do want to hear about you and your personal issues. That's probably better to be discussed privately. If you are currently a client of ours, you know how to get a hold of us by email, phone call, or text. If you're not, just go to our website, click the little blue Get Help button, and you will be connected with us, and we will respond to you. We try within 24 hours. Usually it's within an hour, honestly, unless we're sitting here at Life Amplified. So this is a space where we want everyone to feel involved. Related to that, we try not to talk about particularly personal, sensitive things, politics, or other heated conversations. This is a place to learn about life as someone with limb loss or limb difference, okay? So keep that in mind. I hope that makes sense to everyone. Second of the reminders is this month is our Prosthetics 101 month. So Michael is our week 2, okay? Last week we talked with Jay Martin of Slingshot Bionics. We had a lot of people asking questions about 3D printing, what it means, how you do it, what the cost effectivity is, all the cool things you can do, whether it's covers, whether it's actual prosthetics. So we are grateful to have Michael here for week 2 of Prosthetics 101. Now, to next week, we will have Todd from Amputee Walking School and a Paralympian here for the full hour talking to us about active lifestyles and how you use your prosthetic when you're active. The end of the month, we have Linda Cola, our amputee coach from Lifelong Prosthetics, who's going to be talking with us about how to advocate for yourself with your prosthetist. And we are very pleased to announce we have a bonus week. Nice. So we're actually carrying February Prosthetics 101 into the first week of March as well, because we are going to have Caroline Calabrese from Union Prosthetics, Union OP, who will be going through the fitting process with us. So we are going to extend February's theme into March for a bonus week. So we're super excited about that. The final reminder, and then we're going to turn it over to Emily to introduce Michael, and we're going to talk with Michael for the rest of the hour, is we are doing a giveaway today. Woo! Let me see some hearts and some celebrations. You guys know we love doing giveaways. Thank you very much. Okay, so here is the tricks for the giveaway. First, you have to be on Zoom. So our TikTok friends, if you want to get in on this, hop on over to Zoom. The login information is on our page. Just look for any of the flyers for Life Amplified and you will see the Zoom ID. There's no password. Just click in that ID. For our friends on Zoom, you've got to stay until the end of the hour. We will be spending the next hour, so around 3 o'clock Eastern time. You can do the math for any other time zones you are in. We are going to draw the winner. Lucho and Nick are going to take down the names of those of you who are joining us live on Zoom, and we are going to draw a name near the end of our session for a gift card to Amazon. We've got a 150 gift card to Amazon. Get yourself a little snack or something, electronic gift card. So all you got to do is be here on Zoom near the end, and we will give that away. We like giving away things. We try to do it as often as we can, and we got one of those gift cards from a company, so we're going to give that away today. Okay. And I see 60s. Weather. People are telling us about the weather in the chat. Yes. It's not quite 60s here. It's still like 40 in my office some of the time, but it's getting warmer. All right. So welcome. And if you've joined us since we got started, welcome to Life Amplified. Share in the chat how you're doing and where you're from. And we'd love to hear about that. And you're welcome to ask questions as we go along or put your questions in the chat. Now, all of that introductory topics, being discussed, we are very pleased to have Michael from Prosthetics Plus with us today. Michael is going to talk to us about his background, 3D printings, and he'll be able to answer lots of questions for us. And as we're getting started, and Michael, thank you for being so patient as we got that introductory information out of the way, I'm going to turn it over to Emily, our social worker here at Amputee Aid, to give us a little bit of background on Prosthetics Plus and what we're talking about today. And then, Michael, we're going to get started with you, okay?
Excellent.
Great.
All right. So Prosthetics Plus, they're a specialized provider of custom prosthetic and orthotic solutions. They're dedicated to enhancing mobility and quality of life for individuals with limb loss or limb difference. With a focus on precision, craftsmanship, and innovation, they fabricate high-quality prosthetic components from expertly carved sockets and liners to advanced 3D printed devices. Their approach combines traditional fabrication techniques with modern technology to deliver solutions that meet the unique needs and goals of each person they serve. And Michael, he's a skilled prosthetist, professional at Prosthetics Plus, and he is dedicated to helping individuals regain mobility, independence, and confidence. With a hands-on approach and a strong attention to detail, he works closely with patients to ensure that each prosthetic is thoughtfully designed, properly fitted, and tailored to their unique needs and goals. Thanks,
Awesome.
Michael, for
Yeah, so
joining
thank you
us.
for joining us.
Thank you.
We're very grateful to have you. So y'all, we have another expert in the room. So we're giving you expert information, but please keep in mind if you want information specific to your prosthetic and your needs, you want to talk to your prosthetist and you want to have a separate consultation. So nobody call us and say my expert Michael who's working for me said X, Y, and Z. Right, Michael? We're giving general information, but you're going to want to talk one-on-one or okay, there you go.
Absolutely. So yeah, thank you for the introduction, Emily. All very well said. And as Emily and Jennifer said, my name is Michael Schmidt. I'm a certified prosthetist orthotist. I was a clinical prosthetist for 10 years, working in the Wisconsin and Minnesota areas. And then I was working with Prosthetic Plus, who is a central fabrication site for prosthetic sockets and prosthetic liners and orthotic goods, when I was a clinician. And I had a little bit of a change of scenery with my work life, where I was moving away from where I was practicing, and I had a little bit of a change in profession where I wanted to be a little bit more on the back end and help a little bit of a different population than I was helping, and try to reach out a little bit more to different individuals.
Interesting.
So what kind of led me into 3D printing was just, I'm a clinical guy. I still am a prosthetist, I guess I should say, where I was seeing patients, and as things go and life goes, I got busy, where I am busy more or less in my non-work life, where I got married, had kids, and I couldn't be at the clinic traditionally fabricating my sockets and see my patients at the same time, because life got in the way, as many things does. So I tried to change my workflow a little bit, changing from plaster and the mesh to go to a digital workflow. And with that, I then started getting into 3D printing my check sockets, my diagnostic sockets in-house, and then also doing inner flexible, as far as more of a flexible sockets in-house as well. Just a little, hobbyist 3D printer that I had and that I got off of Amazon, basically.
Really?
And from that, yes.
Can we pause there just for a minute? 'Cause I'm so curious about this. And it's also kind of interesting that you take a leap and you're like, I'm going to try this thing on Amazon. And now it's like your full-time career.
I had plenty of good individuals that were helping me as well, as far as other individuals that have gone down that same road also. Okay. I would say as a whole, a lot of clinicians and the field in general is going towards more of a digital workflow, just because it's cleaner, it's faster, and it just allows us to try to keep up with the demand of our patients.
Sure.
And another thing that's really great is you have a time mark in time, where you have a digital model of that individual's limb, of that individual socket, and you can say, okay, well, John Doe was at this on February 11th. It's now August 17th of the same year, and holy moly, that individual has changed this amount. So it helps us with overall getting the reimbursement from insurances and just overall documentation and needs of the individual to justify a new socket or a new device for that individual. So it is moving towards that as far as overall for the field. There's definitely a lot of individuals that change is scary for that practitioner or for that clinic, where, boy, howdy, this is how we've been doing it for 20 or 30 years. This is how we're going to continue doing it. And there's nothing wrong with that either. It was just the fact that I needed to change how I was doing things, because I couldn't just pop into the clinic and pull a check socket or laminate a socket. I had to change because my life change. I needed to do something different, just because I was relied upon on other individuals than just myself, where my wife and my kiddos needed me to be home at a certain period of time to pick them up from daycare, to do those types of things. So I couldn't just say, oh yeah, I'm just going to be late tonight, or oh, I'm just going to pop in this weekend. I just couldn't do that.
Let me ask you this, Michael.
So I needed to change.
I have a question for you, and there's a follow-up question, which is, where are you all located, and does it matter where your patient is located? But before we get to that, thinking back, like putting your going back in time to when you were training to be a prosthetist, was the changes in technology, was that something that was discussed, and were you open to that? Because I venture to guess that on our Zoom and on TikTok, for some people, their prosthetist does everything manually. Other people, their prosthetist does things digitally and scans. And it seems like there's a lot of variety in the field for how things are done, how they're fabricated, how limbs are measured. Like, am I wrong about that? Is there a lot of variety right now? And as you were training, did you see, like, this is where things are going and I need to train accordingly?
Yeah, so when I was in prosthetics and orthotics school, 14 years ago now, it was all traditional fabrication. We were casting all of our patient models. We were doing all of our I do know now that they are shifting a little bit. I do have friends that are in the educational divisions of our field, and they are shifting more towards a digital workflow and teaching that as well, not just only traditional fabrication, but also digital fabrication as well, with modification and justifying how we're doing things for that individual and for that patient. But no, when I was going through school, we didn't have any digital, and even when I was going through my residency, we didn't do a single lick of digital scanning, nothing. We all plaster, all fiberglass casting for every single patient that we were seeing, and modifying and doing all of our everything traditional fabricated, and that's how I was for a long period of time. And reality, all the way up to, I've been working for Prosthetic Plus now for 2 years, so all the way up to about 5 years ago. 7 years of my clinical time period, I was traditionally fabricating everything.
And I think that's interesting, Michael, because then you have the perspective of both sides, both traditional and the more digital 3D printing side of things. Before we start,
I've talked to a lot of clinicians in the last 2 years as well, and I wouldn't say teaching, because I don't like saying that. Mentoring individuals to try to get into more of a digital workflow, because they have been in the same boat that I was in, where only traditionally fabricating, plaster everything, fiberglass everything, and saying, we and even myself included, we used to have a technician that was on site in our clinic, and she was a great college kiddo that went on to better and bigger and better things, and it's like, well, dang it, that's kind of stinks, and we couldn't find anybody to come in for being a technician in-house. So that workflow and that burden went onto us as clinicians, and it just we couldn't keep up with pulling plastic and laminating sockets, where and a lot of individuals and a lot of clinics are in that too, where they will send out their finish or their check sockets to central fabrication sites like Prosthetic Plus in order to do that for them. So whether it be still plaster wrapping, sending plaster molds via snail mail, or taking scans of individuals, sending digital files to us or different central fabrication sites in order to then produce these sockets, is something that a lot of individuals will do.
And that's the next question we had for you, Michael, is where, so if somebody were interested in getting maybe a socket 3D printed, or maybe a connection like a swim flipper, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, do they contact Prosthetic Plus directly, or do they go through their prosthetist? Like, what is the process for getting connected with you all to have 3D printing done?
Yep. So we work with the prosthetists and the clinics themselves, as far as we don't go direct to patient. I don't. We just don't do that. As far as it's a very loaded question because
Sorry.
we want to help out as many individuals as we can, but that relationship between patient and prosthetist is so important, and we don't want to get in the way of that at all. So we are a central fabrication site that will work with prosthetists and clinics that are seeing their patients in order to produce these types of things. And I had phone calls this morning about different projects that people wanted to start doing that have never worked with us before, and everyone can become a basically partner with us in order to make, and who knows, maybe they are already where we do central fabrication for all over the United States. Boy, it's kind of funny where it's like out in Montana, the Dakotas. Just because we're based in Wisconsin does not mean that we don't see work and fabricate devices for everywhere. And
people don't have to travel to Wisconsin to have they can work through their prosthetist, and you can
work
share
through their process to try in order to possibly test out something that we're doing as far as a 3D printed socket, and it kind of goes into a little bit of what is in our list of things to talk about as well, Jennifer.
I wanted to ask you, tell us what are all the kinds of projects and things that you can do? Give us an idea for what can be 3D printed.
Yeah, so we do primarily what I would say we do the most of right now is interflexible sockets, where the outer rigid frame or the laminated socket can still be traditionally fabricated from our technicians. So a lot of people want to have Pittsburgh Pirates or whatever it might be on the outside of their sockets. They can still have that, but as far as the interflexible itself can be 3D printed with custom latticing and different cushionings that we will put into the socket, or the interflexible socket. So that's what we do primarily right now. I'd say that's probably about 60 to 70% of what we are 3D printing. It's kind of funny where people think about 3D printers, and even the one that I was using, basically a filament 3D printer is not what we are doing. We are using a HP 5200 powder-based 3D printer that prints the devices out of powder and not out of filament. Okay. So I can kind of quick share. Can I share my screen for a little bit?
I think you can. Okay. We'll ask Nick and Lucho to set it up so you can share your screen. And so, in other words, Michael, you're not using the printer you got off of Amazon. That is not what we are doing. No. This is professional.
We will still use that for diagnostic sockets.
Got it.
And for
you will. Okay.
Covers. Yeah, of course. Yeah, as far as a clear. As far as a clear 3D printed test socket or diagnostic sockets, we still will do that as far as a device that is 3D printed with a filament 3D printer, where we can still heat this up, move things around, and being a diagnostic socket that is 3D printed out of PET-G. We still do that as well. We got a couple actually going today. And then as far as a 3D, we'll do a lot of these as well as far as individuals that want a 3D printed cover.
Okay. All right. So if they want to cover over their pylon or something like that, you can also print the covers. Okay.
And actually, I would say this is probably what got me my job at Prosthetic Plus, because I was doing these for my patients. Okay. Where traditionally, as far as a 3D printed cover, they have a prosthetist will either need to make that.
There. Okay, Michael.
I said forget it, and I just went with my phone.
That's okay.
Every now and then I have that trouble with mine. My computer, I don't know, with my Wi-Fi, sometimes it just drops out, and it's really, really annoying. So
that's okay.
This is too important not to get back in. So I just figured I'd go with my phone.
Thank you.
Is the audio all good for everybody?
The audio is great. The video is great. And while you were away, we were kind of gathering some of the questions that we were receiving. So maybe we can answer some of those questions, and then we'll get back into the swing of things with some questions that we pulled earlier before the presentation began. So here's the first question that we've received, Michael, which is, do you 3D print adjustable sockets?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
So we will, as far as click Click Medical is a supplier of a adjustable dial that sorry, now I'm getting notifications on my phone.
It's okay.
That we will 3D print into a rigid 3D printed socket. We can still do that. So yes, as far as doing those types of things, there's a couple different companies that are out there that will do a little more of a unique presentation, but we kind of stick more towards just the click dial that we will be able to 3D print into the socket.
Okay. And then another question we received from Rachel is, this is what she says. So I'm interested to know, when Michael returns, how sturdy printed prosthetics are for patients with bilateral lower limb differences. So any comments on sturdy? Is it different at all from like a, quote, traditional socket? And then is there any concerns about folks who are bilateral lower extremity?
I would say we stick on a 3D printed rigid device. So we will do those, especially ones that have adjustable panels. We'll do a lot of those. Recently, we've been doing that to take some of the load off of our technicians. So we normally stick to around, as far as weight limits and things like that, 260 is normally our max that we will go to on that.
Okay.
But one of the great things is we can still 3D print an inner flexible, as long as it's not. We obviously have some restrictions on size. We will sometimes piece things together, as far as we can kind of split things, put them back together, as well, as far as when we do the 3D printing. But we can still do a traditionally fabricated socket over top of that.
Okay.
So you can still have the benefits of 3D printing your inner flexible and having a digital workflow, which I think is extremely important as well, as far as just having a nice, like I said, a timestamp of where that individual is, and then being able to proceed from there. One of the really cool things that we've been doing recently, because we've been 3D printing for about 18 to 24 months now, where we'll have clinicians talk to us about, hey, Chuck, Susie B is now in 15, 20 ply a sock. Everything else is going really well. I think we need to basically get her a new one. Can we reduce it and then 3D print them? 3D print a new one. Absolutely. We'll just do it all digitally, send it right back out to that clinician, and so they can save a lot of time on overall fabrication going with that. And that's what's really, really cool about a digital workflow, because everything's going pretty dang decently, but I'm in a buttload of socks. What can we do? Oh, well, let's reduce it and then reprint it. Let's go.
And I think
so
well, I think, Mike, what you're touching on is a question that Chuck had as well, which is, can you kind of flatten or change the shape a little bit if someone's, maybe what they're currently using is too loose? And so you could actually do that digitally to make a better fit. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, we actually just did that recently with a clinician that was down in Florida, where the individual was in a seal-in socket system for a below the knee, where the seal, which was a little bit more proximal, was losing seal. So he was like, hey, can we reduce it a couple ply proximally, as far as up towards the knee, but below, they're totally fine. We're just losing seal up here. Yeah, of course. We reduced the top of the socket.
Interesting.
We kept the outside shell exactly the same, so it went down into the hard socket exactly how it normally would, but on the inside, it was tighter. We changed the thickness of the liner up on top, and then they regained seal. In that same prosthesis. They didn't have to, change out anything, do anything differently, and they were able to go keep on going with that socket.
Okay, so I hope, Chuck, that answers your question, but if it doesn't, ask a follow-up question in the chat. We have some folks asking. I see Chuck had a thumbs up, so thank you. All right, spot on, A+ for the day. So some folks are asking about the types of amputees that you can work with. Can we do above knee, below knee, hip disarticulation, upper extremity? Is there any type of amputee that we cannot work with when it comes to 3D printing?
So it's always about sizing, obviously, as far as we have a certain amount of space that we can have in our 3D printer.
Okay.
18 inches from basically bottom to top of this bin that we have to do our 3D printing is normally what we say for that. But we have done it before where a longer AK that really wanted to be in a 3D printed socket where we split it in half. So we are able to then have basically tongue and groove the inner flexible socket back together, and we're able to then, it's all plastic, so we're able to use an epoxy on the inside of that plastic to piece it back together, and then we then best words I can say it is plastic welded
Okay.
the device back together as well, and then once we smoothed it, it was one uniform piece again. So as far as overall, as long as we can get a little bit creative, we have done some hip disarticulation inner flexibles as well. That one of them was a large individual, so we were able to piece back together with the tongue and groove method. And there was other individuals that were a little bit smaller that fit inside the bin just fine, where we were able to do our custom cushioning and latticing as well on those inner flexibles.
Okay.
So yeah, we. I think there was only one AK that we had that somebody wanted to do an inner flexible socket, and they were in a sealant system, and it was too big. They were just a little bit too big. There is one individual that I can think that was like, hey, we're gonna have to traditionally fabricate this one because it was just
it's just not doable. Now, what
as far as
what are some of the, so I'm hearing fit, digital workflow, keeping that record, being able to work with folks all over the country. Those are all advantages. What are some of the other advantages that folks should think about when they elect for 3D printing as opposed to traditional fabrication? Like, does cost matter at all, or is it about the same? Like, talk to us about that.
As overall for costs and things like that, and that's always determined on the clinic as well. If they have a technician that's on site that can do all the work right there, it's more beneficial for that clinician or that clinic to do the fabrication in-house.
Sure.
Whereas, sending that out there, then paying a different company to do the fabrication work for them, which does cut into it doesn't cut into the reimbursement stays the same.
Okay.
As far as with inner flexibles and sockets and those types of things, the reimbursement, what they get from insurances stays exactly the same.
Got
it's
it.
Just overall what they can, it's healthcare as business. There's a profit margin that different clinics want to meet. Whatever it might be, they need to keep the lights on. They need to pay their employees. So if it doesn't fit into their overall budget for what they want to do, and sometimes it's just it's a lot of trust as well in sending out a device to be fabricated.
Sure.
I as a clinician myself, I was using Prosthetic Plus before they got into the 3D printing because I trusted them so much to fabricate my sockets and with the lamination and the work that they were doing. So it was just kind of a no-brainer. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna send my stuff to Prosthetic Plus because I know I'm gonna get a good product back. We just have we still have some amazing technicians that do amazing work and are very, very creative and very good problem solving, and we've been doing Lonnie, but the owner of the company has been doing this now for 30 years and has a crew of about 20 technicians that are on site that do all the traditional fabrications, because we still do a lot of
traditional,
just pure traditionally fabricated sockets as well, and inner flexibles and sockets and check sockets and upper limb extremity prostheses and orthotics as well. We still do a lot of that kind of stuff too.
Okay. So one thing I'm hearing, Mike, is, and obviously you'd want to talk to your clinic and especially the billing person and verify this, but having a 3D printed socket does not automatically rule you out from insurance coverage. You want to check with your insurer.
No.
But it's not like if you get this as opposed to, quote, traditional, that means it's no longer covered by insurance, right? Because I think that's commonly a myth. Okay.
Yes, no, and actually PDAC and Medicare has ruled that 3D fabricating prosthetic sockets is an acceptable form of of fabrication as of last year.
Okay.
So it was a thing that a couple different companies have been really pushing forwards, and it just got passed this last year that it is a an accepted form of fabrication for a prosthesis.
Now, we've talked about sockets, we've talked about covers, but there are a lot of other things and like projects, Mike, that you have been 3D printing and kind of have been like are on the horizon of things that you might 3D print. Can you tell us a little bit more about like the fun, cool things that you have or that you've either done or plan to do?
Yeah, sure. So, we get we get a lot of different, a lot of times I'll get a phone call like, hey, you need to call so-and-so from so-and-so. They got something kind of interesting that they want to talk to you about, where it's, well, one of the more recent ones that we did or are doing, actually, it's going to be printed tonight. See if I can bring up the picture of it. And it's going to be kind of a funky thing where it was for an individual that really wants, it's a pure cosmetic socket. This isn't and it's something that she's going to be wearing, but more for different events that they enjoy going to, and different stuff like that. Can I change my camera around here?
You might have to do it old school style and just flip it with your hand.
Oh, no.
The way I do it.
No, there we go.
Okay, cool. Oh, let's see. Oh, it's like wings.
Yeah, so we were able to kind of all through digital modification and be able to do that, where she wants to wear this for parties and different events that she's going to be going to, and she has a very kind of a different style that she wanted. So with talking with her and with her prosthetist, it's like, well, let's she wanted to have some wings and some cool patterns and things like that, and it's still be able to just be attached to her pylon to go down to her foot. So she wanted something that was going to be pure cosmetic, where this is a self-paid socket. So, they're going through their process to give us the mold to be able to make something like this. And so it'll be eventually, I think it's going to be painted with like a kind of a chrome paint.
Oh, cool.
It's not what we wanted to do. So, because it'll come out basically gray like this, and then we'll be able to paint it in order to so it's not just a gray.
Really make it pretty.
That's pretty dang cool.
So, Mike,
it's kind of funny. I always thought,
how long would that take?
Imagine we can do it.
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, how long is that? You said you're going to start printing that tonight. About how long? How many hours does it take to print that cover you just showed us?
So, the 3D printer itself has basically a cart that gets put into it. This thing is probably the 3D printer is about 10 feet by 4 feet rectangle, and we're bringing in a cart that has a bin that's, well, I know the millimeters and things like that, but it's 380 millimeters deep by 284 millimeters wide by 380 millimeters. So it's a rectangle that's going into this bin, and it's all packed with powder. So in that powder rectangle or box, we can then put different items into it, and it prints at every single individual level of the grains of sand, basically. Not getting too deep into the weeds of how a powder-based 3D printer works is the best I can kind of do
really
for you. So we can put several different items into that bin as long as it fits into it, and then that bin itself for PA12, as far as a more rigid material, takes about 9 hours to go through the whole bin to print it, and then for flexible, it's a little bit longer, about 12 to 14 hours for that.
Okay, interesting. And you really
so it works overnight.
It seems to me that you could have like an artistic flair to this. Like if somebody wanted, let's say they are an upper extremity amputee and they wanted a cover that looks like the uniform from Power Rangers in the 90s. I was the pink Power Ranger. I would love to know if anybody remember Power Rangers from the early 90s. Like you could actually create something like that if they wanted something that's cosmetic. Yeah. Okay.
We've done as far as, there's different cosmetic cover companies that are out there that do a lot of different things for that. A lot of those are 3D printed as well. We do those also for a little bit more intricate for that, I'm trying to bring that up right now. There it is. As far as one of the cool ones that we did a little while ago, where we did some painting onto it, where
Oh,
we did
wow.
Iowa State with a different, writing that was on the bottom that clipped. There's a little piece that's right there that clips onto the pylon, and then there's magnets that then pops onto the tube clamp holder to hold that bad boy in place. Is one of the ones that we did a little. It was maybe back in November we did this one, which was pretty cool. So a lot of times it's like whatever they kind of want to do for it, we can talk with the clinician and with
Design it.
to be able to design that kind of stuff.
That's really cool. And if you all wanted to see, there is a gallery on the Prosthetics Plus website with just a couple of samples. If you wanted to see some of the things that they've done, you can check out their website too. But Mike, we looked at some cosmetic things, but you've also have talked to us about 3D printing practical things. One of which I alluded to was a swimming flipper. So is that possible? You can create stuff like that?
Project whenever it's going to be going on. So we've done a few different things where the individual wanted to have one of the more recent ones that we did. Individual was a big swimmer, was going to the pool, in Minnesota, they have the everybody's right to move. So they do have basically activity-based prosthetics that are approved for insurances there. So the individual had a swimming prosthesis, but the prosthetic foot shell that's on the foot that he had did not like it because it kept on obviously collecting water.
Right.
So we were able to 3D print a specific foot shell for that individual's foot that drained the water. It was basically all, got a picture of that somewhere. Now you're really pressing me. Where it was all basically a lattice-based foot shell that able to drain the water easily.
Really?
He was able to. We had a little strap on there that he was able to pop it off and take it off and just hang it in his locker, or take it and take a towel to it when he got out of the pool, and then pop it right back on and be able to continue walking with it. So we were able to do that for that individual, which was really, really nice.
Really
and really cool.
All right.
Another one that we just did recently was a passive partial hand for an individual that was missing. They just had their thumb. They were missing all 4 of their digits on their dominant hand, and this. So we did and then their insurance wasn't going to approve something, so it was more of a, I believe, a charitable donation from that clinic to get this individual something for them, where we printed.
There it is.
This where they, just say. So he could grasp a hold of things, where his residual limb ended right there. So he was having trouble grabbing a hold of cups, items, holding open up a door, all that kind of stuff. So it was something that we 3D printed from a scan of his other hand, and we just mirrored it to his opposite side. And he didn't really mind about what the cosmetic was of it, just wanted something functional. So we were able to make him this, where it's just a quick, easy strap that was on top, and something that
Interesting.
A lot of people will do a silicone base, very cosmetic, and they're beautiful. They're works of art, but a lot of insurances will not cover something like that because they see that as a cosmetic device. So,
which is frustrating.
It's tough. It's tough for that. So, we'll do these every now. We've probably done 3 or 4 of these ones for individuals that, just they were not going to get anything covered. Where the clinic either did a charitable donation or they did a sell. Actually, one of the ones we did just recently, the individual had an insurance that, or I think it was work comp, where they covered a very beautiful cosmetic, custom silicone. Passive hand for her, but she was like, well, this thing's way too nice. I don't know, when I'm out in the garden or something like that, I don't want to be using this thing. So we did something very similar where we made a more work item for
Yeah.
that individual for different things and actually her work.
Your
comp and covers that
day-to-day.
as well.
So you have your
Yeah.
day-to-day hand and then your nice one when you're going out.
Yeah,
So you
yeah.
don't ruin
Where
it.
it was literally, she was like, I don't want to bring this out to the garden.
Right.
You know, and it was like, well, of course not. You know, it's a beautiful, where she was like, oh man, I don't want to do. So we were able to 3D print
But what's interesting, Mike,
more of a utility hand.
what's interesting, and this brings us to some of the questions that we have in the chat, which I'd like to get to. And everyone, we're coming up on about 14-ish minutes left in our webinar. Can you believe it already? I knew this was going to go fast. Mike, we might need to have you on for another session with more questions. But I wanted to.
It happened to me the last time I did something like this.
Okay. If you have questions, put them in the chat now, and we'll commit Mike to coming on another time. But
I can
this,
always, I can always come in another time, or I can
Yeah.
respond to email with emails to you guys.
We'll-
and
yeah, and we'll
questions
share.
and things like that too. I'm more than willing to do that
Now,
kind of stuff as well.
one of the
Absolutely.
questions that I wanted to get to is because what you're mentioning with the hand, and you can kind of create another one, is when you have that digital work, that file, you can use it and print more, right? So the question I have is, first of all, if someone's looking at getting a digital scan, can they have their prosthetist get all that scan, the whatever you would call it, the data, and then just send it to you, or do you actually have to go out yourself,
Nope.
meet the patient? So it can be right through the prosthetist, right?
No, go right through the process.
Got
as far
it.
As we just been doing this recently as well with I talked about Minnesota, everybody right to move, where different processes now are more specific activity based, where they need something to be waterproof, where
Okay.
they're in a foam socket as far as interflexible foam for different types of prostheses, whatever it might be. But that foam doesn't really take water takes water very well, I should say. So they need to have something that's more waterproof or water resistance. So we've been doing this where they'll be scanning the inside outside of that socket, that foam insert, and we'll duplicate that out of a 3D printed material.
Got it.
So we've been doing that recently as well, which
Okay.
is pretty cool that we were able to do that kind of stuff.
Okay. Now we have two questions related to adjustments, which I think are related to this as well. So the first question being, since you're going through your prosthetist for the scans and the measurements and really getting the order for fabrication made, when the socket comes back to the prosthetist and to the amputee, can the prosthetist make adjustments on the socket, or do they have to keep shipping it back and forth to Prosthetics Plus?
No. So as far as, obviously and I'll kind of show you guys a little bit of, the custom latticing that we have in our interflexibles as well.
Great. Yeah, you bring
But
that up, and I'm going to ask.
It's not in those, as long as
Do you
it's
have our
not in
names?
those areas,
Our drawing.
as long as it's not in those areas, it could be. I'll just do the turnaround trick.
Okay, perfect.
So as far as having the custom latticing and cushioning that's in the inside of our interflexibles, as long as it's not in that area, because obviously heating this up and moving this around could be a little bit difficult and could possibly wreck some of the latticing that's in there. But we've had clinicians be able to heat the top of the socket. They obviously can put pads in between the rigid frame and the interflexible, just like you would a traditional fabricated socket. So they can still do those types of adjustments. And then also, like I said, with different clinicians that are more or less down the road and, hey, we need to replace the interflexible because they're in 14, 13, 16 ply. We can then keep that same outside shell, change the thickness of the inside to be then tighter on that individual too. So we can still do those types of things with the interflexible, which is a really cool tool, and it's a new thing that we've been doing, which I am very, as a previous clinician and still a clinician, I'm really excited about as well.
Okay.
Where that was kind of funny. One of my old guys I used to work with, he's in, I know, like my dog's bugging me right now.
Oh, co-counsel, we love dogs. Okay, while you're taking care of your dog.
She's bugging me. So,
Nick and Lucho, do we have the names for the drawing?
I actually closed it.
Okay, keep going, Mike. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. So basically, and it ties a little bit into some of the other questions as far as rural and undeserved communities.
Yeah.
And so he's way up in northern Minnesota.
Okay.
And basically, people get, into a bunch of different stuff up there as far as, they're hard on their stuff. And a lot of the inner flexibles that he was doing, it's very different, things happen, things rip, things get eaten by dogs, whatever it might be, where he's like, you're telling me that I can just tell you to reprint that and I'll get something that's exactly the same? And it's like, yeah. And he's like, sign me up,
Yeah.
let's go. Because he was like, how many times have I tried to, someone comes in and it's like, oh yeah, we were, sitting around the campfire and the dog got a hold of this or whatever it might be, or shoot, this happened, this, that, and the other thing happened, or someone was like, I completely lost that. I don't know where that is.
Yeah.
Like, how did you?
And you can literally print a new one out. That is amazing.
Yeah. So it's really, really cool for that. And we've done that now with a few different covers as well, where an individual, it was purely cosmetic, where she had it for her every day. And then we actually printed another one for her that she wanted to wear to softball. So she had her number on the side of it. So she was able to take off her cosmetic cover that she had that was 3D printed out of, the 3D printed foam that we have. And then she had her one that she put on for her softball that had, it had a softball emblem on it. We put her number on the one side of it. So then she was able to then put that one on when she went to go, and it fit exactly the same as far as her previous one. It was just had a couple different embossings into, kind of tattoos that are on it, more or less.
Okay.
So she was able to wear that. So where it was exact same size, exact same fit onto her socket and onto her prosthetic foot. It was just had a little bit more shine to it.
And what I like is the idea that if someone needs a replacement socket quickly, you can literally say, we need it printed again, Control P, print it again, whatever, as opposed to going through the full fitting process again. It seems to me that one of the advantages is the efficiency and the time savings. Am I right about that?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. And even, a lot of times for, that's, it's why our field is going more towards not even just 3D printing, but more towards a digital workflow well, because you do have that file. It's not like, oh yeah, watch, you had to come in, we'll do a recast, or we'll take a mold of that socket in order to duplicate it. I've done that plenty of times in my tenure as a clinician, but having that digital timestamp and having that digital mold, it's not just a plaster model that's in the back of the shop. It's something that's just takes up a few megabytes on the computer, where they can go to that and either adjust it for the new one, or Control P, reprint it or recarve it and be able to make a new device quickly.
Okay. Now I'm going to end on a really interesting question that I honestly did not think of, but I'm going to ask it. So it's not on the list. We're going to ask it anyway, and then we're going to follow. We'll close out on any other comments you'd like to make Mike as we are wrapping up our hour. But here's a really interesting question that we received. So we've talked a lot about limbs, okay, upper and lower extremity. But have you ever 3D printed anything else, like eyes or ears? Have you done any other body parts? And this is kind of a weird question.
I've not done anything like that. No. I've 3D printed a protective mask for an individual that you would see as far as you'll see professional athletes and things like that, and college athletes where they had suffered a fracture of either their nose or their orbit bone, where they need to, just in case a ball or something were to come in contact, it would spread that around the face instead of at that fracture point. I've done one of those, which was a fun project that we did a while ago. But as far as no, haven't done any ears or noses or eyes. No,
we might challenge you. So what I'm hearing, Mike, is whether it's practical, it's your socket, whether it's practical, whether it's recreational like swimming, or it's cosmetic, or it's creative. You want to have the cool cover with the wings on the back. Really, in many ways, the sky is the limit, right? And it takes some coordination with your prosthetist and some creativity, but there's a lot of opportunities here that you don't have with traditional fabrication.
Absolutely, yeah. As far as, look, that wing prosthesis. You could never make something like that traditionally fabricated,
Right.
or even the foot shell that we made for that individual. So that was going,
Yeah.
I guess you could have taken a foot shell and just drilled a bunch of holes into it. But there's different ways that you can do things, but with 3D printing and digital workflow, it's something that you can have that repeatability as well, be able to do those types of things.
Okay. Now, as we're coming up on the end of the hour, 2 questions for you, Mike. First one being, what else would you like us to know? And the second is, if somebody wants to work with Prosthetics Plus, how do they do it? It sounds like they go through their prosthetist, but let's kind of reiterate that. So any closing thoughts, and then how do they work with you?
Yeah, so as far as, just know that every individual is unique, and having, realistic expectations for outcomes and things like that. We have done, a couple that have had a 3D printed socket, and there's like, I'd rather go back to how we had it. It was kind of, I remember, I know one for a fact, as far as the first one that we had, that was just like, the person's like, they didn't like it. He's like, they had it for a couple of weeks, and they said it was a little bit too, had a custom latticing on it, different cushionings on it. They took it for a couple of weeks, and they came back and said, nah, I like my heart socket better. Whereas it's like, it was just something that was new. They didn't like exactly what they were feeling, and that was it. Where we then said, okay, well, we have the digital model of it. We'll just make a traditionally fabricated socket for you guys, and they can have that, and they were totally happy and fine with it. So it's, every individual is unique, every situation is unique. And then as far as, just having that good relationship with your process, to be able to talk about what you're going through and what you're feeling, and trying different, and hopefully being able to think outside the box and not say, oh, well, this is how we do it. I don't like that. It's like, oh, well, why, like, let's give it a shot, and I've done that in my career. It's like, and we've given things a shot, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's just having the courage and the to be able to make that decision and go out on a limb. No pun intended.
No pun intended.
To try something different, to try something a little bit more unique, just to see, and to get outside the comfort zone a little bit. And then as far as, we do work with prosthetists all over the country. They can email us. All of our contact information is on our website, as far as prostheticplus.com. You can get a hold of our administrative team, who are amazing, and be able to start that relationship between their company and our company. So, yeah, very, very simple. It's kind of funny. We have a map of the U.S. and I feel like, of every single place that we have done a project for or a job for throughout 30 years. It feels like, where we have, there's a lot of dots on the board.
Good. That's what we like to hear. Lots of dots on the board.
Yeah, lots of dots on the board, and being able to, with technology, be able to service a large population of individuals, and with either digital workflow or even in traditional, we still get plenty of casts and molds in the mail.
That's amazing.
Still get plenty of that.
So thank you so much, and I'm just so also honored and inspired to have you here, because you give us some unique insight from both the traditional side of things and these new advanced digital side of things. And it's also wonderful to hear a prosthetist support relationships with other prosthetists, which is great. Sometimes there's this weird turf wars kind of a thing. And what I'm hearing you say, Mike, is you go through your prosthetist, that relationship is very important. We are here as a service for them. But it is not an end run. And that is amazing. We love that. Yeah. And I also like the jokes, go out on a limb. What an amazing, that's spoken like a true prosthetist right there. We love that.
I did not plan that. That is off the cuff. I love that.
It is funny, but I'll say.
As a previous clinician and I do miss taking care of my patients. I really do. I still keep in contact with a few different individuals that have my cell, but that relationship between process and patient is extremely important.
Super
and being
important.
able to communicate with them about what's going on, and that trust between the two individuals is extremely important. It's something that I always preach, where it's like, I would have somebody, it happens, every now and then we get a new patient into your office, and they're, going through different things, and it's like, okay, well, outside eyes kind of looking in, this is what I'm kind of seeing. I would maybe go back to your patient, your process, and say, hey, I think this is kind of what's going on, and see what they say. I never want to break that kind of a relationship, because it is extremely important.
Yes, or as we see in the chat, it's a life.
A lot.
As we see in the chat, it's a lifelong relationship, and this,
exactly.
and this 3D printing is a way of kind of servicing and continuing that relationship. I love it. So thank you.
It's something in our field that's very, very unique.
Yes.
And it's that relationship between your patients.
Yes.
And as far as what you can put into that device and what they can get out of that device is something that I do miss a lot. And being able to see that result is something that I do miss.
Mm-hmm.
But I still enjoy. I've been able to meet a lot of new clinicians in the last couple of years, a lot of new I would consider friends, as far as people that I respect and communicate with on a weekly to sometimes daily basis, as far as, hey, I got this going on, Mike. Hey, I kind of got this person coming down the pipe. I think they could be good for something like this. Or, hey, what do you think about something like that? That's what I do enjoy about my current position.
That's amazing. Well, thank you for that, and thank you for spending your hour with us, Mike. And
no
so we'd love to have you here, and I'm sure we're going to have more questions for you, so maybe we can bring you back on for another session of Life Amplified. If we did, I think we got to all the questions, but if we didn't, no worries. Just email us, info@amputee-aid.com. We'll send those to Mike. And Prosthetics Plus is the company. Check out their website and a gallery of just some of the items that they've done. And if you're looking at getting more information, we can help you and your prosthetist get in contact with Mike. So, Mike, thank you very much for joining us. Now, everyone, we promised that if you stuck around, you saw Emily getting ready with the raffle. She's going to draw the name of our winner for our Amazon gift card. And as she's doing that, I'll remind you that next Wednesday we will have Todd from Amputee Walking School, a Paralympian physical therapist and amputee himself, who is going to be talking with us about active lifestyles and your prosthetic devices. So stay tuned for that next Wednesday at 2 o'clock Eastern Time. Emily, who is the winner of our gift card?
Cammie.
Congratulations, Cammie. I've got Cammie's contact information, so we will email that over to you. You got a gift card from Amazon. Y'all know we love doing giveaways. We'll try to do them as often as we can, but hopefully just giving this information to all of you for free was well worth it. I know it was for me. And Mike, thank you for gifting us your time. We will definitely take you up on an offer to come back. Thank you so much.
I feel like I have this conversation every single time I do something like this. I've done it a couple times, different webinars and different interviews and things like that. I always feel like I wish we had a little bit more time.
We'll do more next time.
Definitely have to have another. Yeah.
We will. Okay.
I would enjoy that.
It's on a recording, so now we're committing. Everyone, we're committing Mike to it, and I'll follow up with you, and Cammie will follow up with you too. Everyone, thank you for joining us for another Wednesday of Life Amplified. We hope that you enjoyed and that you learned a lot. If you have questions, you know how to reach us, and we'll put you in contact with Mike through your prosthetist. Until next week, have a great rest of this week, a wonderful beginning of next week, and join us next Wednesday at 2 o'clock Eastern Time on Zoom and TikTok with Todd from Amputee Walking School for the continuation of Prosthetics 101 for the month of February. Take care, everyone. Enjoy your afternoon. Bye. Bye, Mike. Thank you.